On August 12, 2025, something happened on Monday Night Raw that nobody saw coming. For decades, the name Seagal meant one thing: bone-crunching, Aikido-fueled action movies. But the next chapter of that legacy isn't being written on a film set. It's being forged inside a WWE ring by Arissa LeBrock, the daughter of an action legend and an 80s icon. She didn't just show up, she sent a shockwave through the entire industry that has left champions speechless and fans completely divided. But the story you saw on TV isn't the real story. That electrifying moment wasn't the beginning. It was the payoff for a brutal and inspiring journey. To understand what really happened in that ring, you need to know about the devastating injury that almost ended her career, the soul-crushing rejection that would have broken most people, and the quiet, grinding training that turned her into a legitimate threat. Was this a one-night shock, or the arrival of wrestling's next great legacy? This is the untold story of Arissa LeBrock's journey to the squared circle. To really get why Arissa's debut hit so hard, you have to understand the mountain of doubt she was already under. In professional wrestling, a world that prides itself on paying dues, a famous last name is a double-edged sword. Sure, it might get your foot in the door, but it almost never earns you respect. In fact, it usually does the opposite. It paints a giant target on your back. Arissa was carrying the weight of two massive names: her father, action god Steven Seagal, and her mother, supermodel and actress Kelly LeBrock. She was born into Hollywood royalty, a world of privilege totally at odds with the gritty, blue-collar ethos of pro wrestling. From the start, the skepticism was obvious. Fans and critics saw a model and reality TV personality from shows like Growing Up Supermodel, not a future warrior. The assumption was that wrestling was just the next gig, another TV show to leverage her famous name. This wasn't just unfair. It was a deep-seated bias in a subculture that is fiercely protective of its own. For every second or third-generation star who makes it, there are a dozen who fade away, dismissed as cheap copies. Arissa wasn't just fighting an opponent in the ring. She was fighting a narrative that was written long before she ever laced up a pair of boots. She had to prove she wasn't just in wrestling to be famous. She was already famous. She was there to prove her passion was real. That passion led her to the world of combat sports. Quietly, away from the cameras, Arissa dedicated herself to the grueling art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, becoming a dedicated competitor and building a foundation of legitimate skill. It was this unique blend of her mother's charisma and her father's combat art that put her on a collision course with WWE. In December 2019, the news broke. Arissa LeBrock was heading to Orlando for a WWE tryout at their world-renowned performance center. This was her shot to prove to everyone that her BJJ background made her the real deal. And then in an instant, it all fell apart. While the specific details have been kept private, the result was catastrophic. During or shortly after that grueling tryout, Arissa suffered a severe career-threatening injury. The dream that was so close was snatched away. The hype vanished, and the wrestling world, which moves at lightning speed, simply moved on. What followed was silence, darkness, and suffocating doubt. In her own incredibly honest words, Arissa later revealed the depth of her struggle, stating, "I had become comfortable in the darkest, worst place in my life." For most people, that would have been the end. The psychological blow of having her dream crushed was devastating. In wrestling, the greatest stories are always about the comeback. While Arissa was in that dark place, a lifeline came from one of the most respected figures in the industry, Dustin Rhodes. As the son of the legendary American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, Dustin spent his entire career fighting to get out from under one of the biggest shadows in wrestling history. He knew exactly what it felt like to be judged by a last name. He saw past the injury and the celebrity parents and offered her a second chance, an invitation to move to Austin, Texas, and train at his acclaimed Rhodes Wrestling Academy. That call was the catalyst she needed. She left her life in California behind and went all in. The Rhodes Wrestling Academy is a world away from the polished WWE Performance Center. It's an old-school, gritty, sweat-stained gym where respect is earned, not given. Here, Arissa wasn't a celebrity's daughter. She was a student, starting from square one. Under Dustin's mentorship, she began the tough process of rebuilding herself, working with personal trainers to methodically get, as Dustin put it, all her ducks in a row. Dustin was blown away by her work ethic and made a bold prediction. Pretty soon, the whole world's going to be talking about Arissa LeBrock. After months of grinding, the moment of truth arrived. In March 2023, Arissa made her official in-ring debut at a Rhodes Wrestling Academy student showcase in Texas. But that was just the start. As her confidence grew, she started making waves elsewhere, even appearing in TNA Wrestling to confront their champion Jordynne Grace in a shocking moment that put the entire industry on notice. Suddenly, Arissa LeBrock wasn't just a comeback story, she was a hot commodity. And that brings us back to that ring on Monday Night Raw, August 12, 2025. With all that backstory, the legacy, the injury, the comeback, and the buzz she was building in other promotions, that's why her debut was so compelling. The reigning champion stood in the ring, arrogantly declaring there was no one left to challenge her. The arena plunged into darkness. When the lights returned, Arissa LeBrock was standing on the entrance ramp, radiating a cold, focused intensity. The commentators exploded, revealing her identity to a stunned world. Her performance was a statement. She moved with a scary purpose that silenced the crowd. Her style was a violent, seamless mix of her legitimate combat sports background. We saw the grappling control from her years of BJJ. But then she executed a perfect Aikido throw, a direct, undeniable nod to her father, but it wasn't a cheap imitation. It was integrated, authentic, and devastating. She dismantled her opponent with a brutal efficiency that left the audience and the champion completely stunned. The rumors that her career was over were officially dead and buried. She had arrived. In the aftermath, the wrestling world exploded. Arissa LeBrock was instantly the most talked-about name in the business. The debate raged online. Was she the future? Was this the kind of legitimacy the women's division needed? Her debut wasn't just a moment. It was a shift that put the entire roster on notice. And what of her father, the man whose legacy is so large? You might think a lifelong martial artist like Steven Seagal would be cynical about the pageantry of pro wrestling. But you have to imagine he wouldn't just see the showmanship. He'd see the discipline, the toughness, and the sacrifice required to even step in that ring. He would see a warrior in his daughter. He has been a proud supporter of her journey, watching her take the fighting spirit he represents and translate it for a new generation in a new arena. She didn't just carry on his legacy, she evolved it, proving the Seagal name is synonymous with a toughness that can't be broken, whether on a movie set or inside the squared circle. Arissa LeBrock's story proves that legacy isn't just what you're given, it's what you build. She refused to live in the shadow of two icons and instead forged her own identity through grit and perseverance. She took the hard road, and that has made all the difference. The journey from Hollywood royalty to a devastating injury to a triumphant comeback gives her something every wrestler dreams of, an authentic, compelling story. So, now that you know the real story, what do you think? Is Arissa LeBrock the next big thing in women's wrestling? What dream matches do you want to see for her now that she's in WWE? A technical masterpiece against a seasoned veteran, or a powerhouse collision with a dominant champion? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this look into one of wrestling's most incredible new stars, make sure to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that are reshaping the world of professional wrestling.